Chapter 56. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Wednesday afternoon, early spring, 1788. Boom. Whoosh. Bill materialized next to an occupied outhouse. The inhabitant rumbling and farting inside, a stream of unidentifiable liquid seeping from beneath the bottoms of the graying wooden slats into the weedy ground at his loafered feet. "Damn it, lady!" Bill roared in frustration, kicking the wood of the outhouse, shaking it on its foundation. "Get out here and explain yourself!" The door of the outhouse creaked open, and its unwashed occupant, a balding man in aging buckskins, a fringe of long hair beneath his crooked tricorn cap, barreled outside, his hands fumbling ineffectually at the waist of his sagging pants. "I have nothing to explain." The indignant evictee staggered from the alley, defiantly buttoning his trousers. Bill followed the dispiriting apparition around the corner, shivering from the bite of a chilly wind as he ogled the beaver-lined top hats and long wool coats of gentlemen dashing about the bustling docks, sailors throwing pallets from the decks of riverboats, the roads spidering from the warehouses teeming with indigenous merchants in buckskins, farmers' wives, women in silk-swathed petticoats. Wagons, pack horses, and a string of mules crowded muddy roads and plank sidewalks as Bill took it all in and was, as he ever was, ignorant of where he was. Though old and colonial came to mind if he was taking notes for later. A tinny piano and peals of feminine laughter echoed from inside a two-story clapboard establishment, its wooden doors swinging open as Bill followed the outhouse guy inside. Searching the downstairs salon of Miss Ruthie's libations, Bill saw no trace of the wily Aunt Penelope, announcing to those inside, "I'm looking for a woman." The madam in charge squinted at Bill, answering when the piano player took a break, the heads of her painted ladies collectively swiveling around to eavesdrop. "I think we can help with that, sir. Have you coin?" "I do not believe I do," Bill enunciated, averting his eyes from the curious women giggling around him, realizing his error. "To clarify, I seek a specific woman." The madam cocked her head inquisitively. "Taller than me, wearing a long black coat with stringy silver hair down her back, and pale skin. I'm not sure about the face. I've never seen it," Bill queried hopefully, mimicking Aunt Penelope's height and gait while walking, hands outstretched like a sleepwalker as he'd last seen her at the clock. "Mayhap because she hath no face," the piano player speculated helpfully. One woman shivered, another spat, and a man at the bar moaned, "Sounds like the ghost of Gertrude Tibbles," as his companions crossed themselves. The madam sighed, motioning to Bill's rubber-soled loafers. "I believe the people you're looking for are 5 doors down, sir. The clockmakers? You look like one of their clientele." Then cackled knowingly, advising with a dismissive sniff, "And you're the second one I've seen come through this week, so on with you if you could be so kind." "Just tell me, was it a woman?" Bill pleaded. The madam shrugged, explaining, "I honestly cannot tell with you lot." Rebuffed, Bill left the saloon and set out. After passing a barber surgeon, a tanner, a hider, one church, and a second brothel, Bill spotted a sign with the picture of a clock on it and sighed in relief. The shop was quiet, except for a row of ticking grandfather clocks dominating the western wall of the space. A fastidious man stood behind a neat wooden desk, a leather satchel of small tools at hand. His handlebar mustache was combed and waxed, the monocle over one eye bobbing as he appraised the walk-in. The shop was otherwise empty. "How can we help you today, sir?" The shopkeeper straightened and smiled. Unprepared, Bill glanced around, futilely searching his pockets before settling on his wristwatch, the magnetic band of which he snapped off his forearm with ease, handing it to the astounded man, asking, "You do repairs?" The clockmaker sucked in his breath as he studied the 21st century smartwatch, turning it over on his palm before handing it back to Bill and regaining his composure. "I'm afraid I don't have the right tools for this, sir. Perhaps the tailor down the avenue would be better suited to such a modern piece. I hear he has the most delicate hands." Never hurts to ask. As he redonned the watch, Bill noticed the man's eyes darting frequently from the back door of the shop to the front door, then back to his customer. Suspicious, Bill pried, "How long have y'all been here? Can't say I've noticed your shop before." "Ah," the man seemed distracted, his eyes moving back to Bill with a smile. "We, moved here from overseas some years ago." "That's so. Whereabouts?" Bill probed. The man stalled. "We're from Scottlesboro, south of Spain. You know it?" He seemed uncertain himself. "Can't say I do," Bill admitted, then relieved. "Well," the diminutive shopkeeper smiled, declaring, "My apologies, I couldn't be of more help. I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself." "Jim Sanders." Bill used the first name to come to mind to cover his tracks, shoving his hand out with a big Texas grin. "And you are?" "Luca." The man touched his own chest as he said his name, before extending his hand to shake Bill's, suddenly changing course, waving both hands in Bill's face, shouting, "No!" Bill heard a hollow thump and felt, almost simultaneously, a searing pain rip through the back of his head. Dropping to his knees, he rolled onto the plank floor, the fading faces of the proprietor and a teenaged boy looming over him, the younger with a log dangling in one hand. "I told you Marivelle doesn't know everything," Bill heard the boy mutter. "That man is a charlatan." The proprietor shrieked, "What have you done?" "Marivelle," Bill murmured, hearing the familiar name as he wove in and out of consciousness. "I know him." Marivelle, who we've already met, though not this younger version of him, was not a charlatan, as Phinneus declared, but was hot on a case, searching for a prolific clock thief. Now young Marivelle stood over Bill's body, the clockmaker wringing his hands as he fretted, "Thank God you came, Marivelle." Rousing for a moment before blacking out again, Bill heard a familiar voice demand testily, "And why didn't you do as I said?" "We will, but, the merchant stuttered. "What?" "He said your name. He said he knew you," the clockmaker blurted out. Marivelle sucked his breath in, looking down at the man trussed on the clockmaker's plank floor. The thief knew his name. In the past, when he'd visited the area, it was to have Luca, the clockmaker, repair his clock, sometimes just to visit. Luca, a fellow Atlantean, had settled in post-revolutionary Philadelphia and continued on as a clockmaker of some esteem, having once been a senior member of the Science Councils of Atlantis, pioneer of the Atlantean time-traveling clocks, and, ironically, one of the only clockmakers to make it out of Atlantis alive. "I've never seen this man." Marivelle prodded Bill's limp hand with the toe of his shoe, asking hopefully, "Is he dead?" "Unconscious," the proprietor huffed. "Phinneus doesn't seem to know his own strength. Who is he, Marivelle?" "I'm not sure yet. What did he say?" "He said he was a Jim Sander." Luca shrugged. "Is that a proper name, or an occupation, do you think?" "I'm not sure, but he shouldn't be traveling to the past and mucking about." Marivelle paced the darkening room. "As agreed earlier, your son will need to take the astro clock and leave within the week, Luca. We can't trust this Jim Sander works alone. There might be more." With mounting reports of clock theft and time mischief flooding his telegram box, stories of a man appearing in multiple timelines searching for this specific clock, Marivelle knew he had been compromised. The torch must be passed. Naturally, Marivelle assumed Bill was this heretofore nameless criminal. Weeks ago, warning the Atlantean clockmaker about the possibility of a clock thief's arrival, and issuing explicit instructions to kill him on sight if he appeared. "He's not ready. Phinneus is barely 17, Luca pleaded. "His mission is greater than all of us, Luca. If the first clock is lost, then everything is lost. It's a map to Earth, a path of breadcrumbs. Our past, our future, they are the same. It would all be for naught if the astro clock fell into the wrong hands. There was a tense silence before Maribel added softly, "He'll live in a land of plenty in the future, I tell you, and your daughters can give you grandchildren to keep you company later. I wouldn't fret." The voices faded as the men moved out the back door to the stables. Bill, his head swimming and throbbing, awoke at one point to overhear through the open back door of the shop his great-uncle's cracking, pubescent voice repeat at Maribel's prompting, "I, Phineas Finkle, promise to protect time," before blacking out again altogether. When Bill woke in the dark shop hours later, his head ringing like a bell, he could barely move, discovering his hands and feet tied with a braided rope, wholly confused about who he was, where he was, and what had happened to get him there. Eventually, the proprietor re-entered, kneeling beside Bill, who played possum, squeezing his eyes closed. The clockmaker muttered to himself, clicking his teeth as he stepped over Bill's body to adjust the dials on one of the clocks, twisting one dial 2 clicks left, then another 3 clicks right, before clomping several paces away, extolling, "Good luck, Jim Sander. I should kill you for your travel crimes as ordered, but I won't, I can't, I don't have it in me, though I do hope you speak passable Greek." Boom. Whoosh. The shopkeeper sighed, lighting a candle and returning to his desk. He didn't notice the figure watching from outside, tucked into the shadows beyond the street lantern's wavering cone of light, their wide eyes fixed on the wall of clocks.